Greg Norman has dominated the golf scene throughout his career. His aggressive style gave him the nickname the Great White Shark. His dedication and impressive focus led him to the top of the golf world, yet Norman faced some of his biggest challenges beyond the golf course.
But I always pushed the envelope to see how far I could take myself.
I had the determination, the natural determination to strive to be the best I could be in whatever my chosen path I was going to go down. And
I wake up in the morning and I stare at myself in the mirror and I say, what's going to happen ahead? What's ahead of you?
Greg Norman's remarkable style and unwavering dedication to excellence redefined the essence of the championship. Throughout his career, he achieved victory in 88 tournaments, including 2 major championships, cementing his status as one of the game's legends. Today, we will explore his exceptional career. Gregory John Norman was born in Queensland, Australia, on February 10, 1955. His father, Mervyn, was an electrical engineer who had married the daughter of a Finnish carpenter. Being born in Australia, Norman was athletic from the start. Norman mostly played rugby and cricket, as these were more common games out there. He was interested in surfing and aspired to become a professional surfer. Norman wasn't interested in golf. Meanwhile, his mother was a golfer and had taught him some basics. When Norman was 15, he caddied for his mother at the Virginia Golf Club in Brisbane. That is when Norman fell in love with golf. He began studying it from Jack Nicklaus's book, Golf My Way. Norman worked on his golfing skills and, in just 18 months, fully mastered the game. Norman got a trainee position at Royal Queensland Golf Club, where he was earning $28 a week. Though $28 wasn't enough for him, the experience he gained would help him redefine his career. In June 1974, Norman started to get media attention when he was just 1 shot off the lead after the first round of the Queensland Open. At the time, he was just 19 years old. His amateur career was short-lived, and he quickly turned professional. Throughout his extraordinary career, Norman claimed many victories and awards. Today, we will find out how Norman dominated golf on 3 separate continents: Europe, Australia, and North America. We have stories of more of your favorite players scheduled for the coming weeks. You won't want to miss out on those, so make sure to subscribe, and let's get started with Greg Norman. Norman turned professional when he was 20. He started to work as an assistant professional under Billy McWilliam at Beverley Park Golf Club in New South Wales. Soon after, he began to work as Charlie Earp's trainee at the Royal Queensland Golf Club Pro Shop and was earning $38 per week. Meanwhile, playing on the Aussie PGA Tour, Norman won his first ever tournament in 1976. Norman was playing the Westlakes Classic at the Grange Golf Club and shot a brilliant 64 to get a 3-shot lead. He continued to dominate, expanding his lead to 5 shots in the second round and a 10-shot lead in the third round. But in the final round, he missed many shots and made several mistakes with 6 bogeys and 6 pars to get a score of 74. Even with the worst final round, Norman got a 5-shot victory over his opponent and secured his first ever professional title. A year later, he joined the European Tour in 1977. That season, Norman won the Martini International held at Blairgowrie Club in Scotland. In 1980, he dominated Europe, winning the French Open by a margin of 10 strokes. He won the Scandinavian Enterprise Open in Sweden, setting a course record of 64. At the end of the year, Norman won his maiden Australian Open title, a tournament he would dominate and win 5 times in his career. Norman made his Masters debut in 1981. He started the tournament with good form but fell short in the end and finished in 4th place, just 3 strokes behind the winner, Tom Watson. Even though he lost the Masters tournament, he stayed in form and won the British Masters and his 3rd Martini International tournament that year. In 1982, Norman successfully defended his British Masters title. He won 2 more tournaments and was the leading money winner on the European Tour. In the following year, Norman joined the PGA Tour. Norman was kept off the course most of the season by knee cartilage surgery, but still managed to win the Australian Open title, the World Match Play Championship, and the Hong Kong Open that year. Norman won his first PGA tournament at the Kemper Open, beating his opponent by 5 strokes. Just a week after his maiden win, Norman went off to play the U.S. Open, where he holed a 45-foot putt on the 72nd hole to force a playoff with Fuzzy Zoeller. But on the next day at the playoff, Norman shot a score of 75, while Zoeller scored 67. Even though Norman lost the tournament, he got huge media attention and started to become famous. Norman put behind his defeat and went on to win the Canadian Open in July. At the same time, he continued his dominance in the Australian Tour. 1985 didn't turn out to be as good as people had expected from him. Norman came runner-up in 2 tournaments on the PGA Tour. But on the Australian Tour, he won 2 tournaments, including the PGA Championship as well. In 1986, Norman's career peaked. He won the British Open, the World Match Play title, and the Dunhill Cup. Norman put on amazing performances in all 4 major tournaments that year. Norman led all 4 majors after 54 holes and had the best chance in history to win the single-season Grand Slam. In the 1986 Masters, Norman had a lead of 1 stroke going into the final round. Norman held on to his lead till the 10th hole, where he double bogeyed. Norman made 4 consecutive birdies from the 14th hole to the 17th, and the match was tied going into the 18th hole. Norman's opponent was Jack Nicklaus, and Norman had learned most of golf from his book. Now he was competing with arguably the best player golf had ever seen. On the 18th hole, Norman missed a par putt and a chance to send the match into a sudden death playoff. So the hopes for the Grand Slam season were shattered. But still, Norman didn't lose his form and went to the U.S. Open. Here, Norman was again leading the tournament after 56 holes, but on the final day he collapsed, finishing the final round with a score of 75 and losing the tournament by 6 strokes to Raymond Floyd. Norman had again lost the tournament after maintaining the lead in the final round. Norman's search for the first major title continued as he went to play the 1986 Open Championship. There, Norman shot a second round of 63 to tie the record for the lowest ever round at the Open. Norman stayed on track, surviving the brutal conditions at the tournament, and shot a final round of 69. This amazing final round helped him get a 5-shot victory, and Norman got his first ever major title. Norman then went on to play the 1986 PGA Championship. Norman led the tournament going into the final round. But here, Norman shot a final round of 76 and finished 2 strokes behind the winner, Bob Tway. Norman had lost 3 major tournaments after leading them on the final day. Although he had some major heartbreaks, 1986 was an amazing year for Norman. Norman won 4 titles on the Australian Tour and topped the Australian Order of Merit. He also topped the PGA Tour money list in the same year. He dominated Europe, winning the European Open and World Match Play Championship. Norman ended the year with 11 victories, which helped him earn the #1 spot in the official world golf rankings. In 1987, Norman again had a chance to win the Masters tournament on the 18th green. He needed a 20-foot putt for a birdie to win the game, but as he took the shot, the ball landed very close to the cup and rolled toward it. The ball tickled over the left lip of the cup, missing by mere millimeters. After Norman made par on the 72nd hole at Augusta, he ended up in a sudden death playoff with Larry Mies and Seve Ballesteros. On the second playoff hole, Mies holed a 47-yard chip and took the tournament trophy, and Norman lost. However, Norman had an amazing Australian Open performance where he won the tournament by a record 10 strokes, beating the previous winning margin of 8 strokes set by Jack Nicklaus in 1971. This performance helped him earn back the top spot in golf rankings. In the coming year, he managed to get 4 more wins on the Australian Tour. In the PGA Tour, he won the MCI Heritage Open Golf Classic at Hilton Head Island in South Carolina. In the 1989 Masters, Norman had a chance to play in the playoff with a 12-foot par putt, but he missed it and was eliminated on the 72nd hole. If that loss wasn't enough, Norman again crumbled in the Open Championship. In the final round, Norman started with 6 straight birdies and shot a score of 64. This put him in a playoff with Mark Calcavecchia and Wayne Grady. But in the final playoff hole, Norman had to make 2 successive bunker shots, and he missed his 3rd shot out of bounds, while Calcavecchia made a birdie on the last hole and won the tournament. In 1990, Norman won the Doral Ryder Open and Memorial Tournament, but he missed the cut for the first time at Augusta National in the 1990 Masters. In the Open Championship, Norman led the tournament along with Nick Faldo, but in the 3rd round, Faldo shot 67 while Norman managed to get 76 and lost his lead. Norman finished the tournament in 6th place. Although Norman couldn't put up any major performances in the majors that year, he topped the PGA Tour money list and won the Varden Trophy and Byron Nelson Award. Norman was having career slumps in the early 1990s, so he turned to renowned coach Butch Harmon. The two worked together to rebuild his game and swing. As a result, in 1993, Norman claimed his 2nd major title at the Open. He shot a score of 64 in the final round, which was the lowest score by a winner at the Open until 2016. In the following year, he kept beating the records for the lowest score at the 18th, 54th, and 72nd holes at the Players' Championship. He shot a total score of 264 and won the Players' Championship by 6 strokes. In June of the next year, he won his 2nd Memorial Tournament and began one of the best years on the PGA Tour. He won the Cannon Greater Hartford Open by a chip-in for an eagle on number 14 of the final round. He also won the NEC World Series of Golf, holding a 70-foot birdie chip, and topped the money list for the third time in his career. In 1996, Norman started the Masters tournament with a record-tying 63 and held his lead for 3 days. In the final round, he had a lead of 6 shots, but scored 78 and lost by 5 strokes to Nick Faldo. In January of 1997, Norman won the Anderson Consulting World Championship of Golf and earned his largest winner's check of $1 million. He won 2 titles on the PGA Tour, which were his final victories on the PGA Tour. In the preceding season, he missed because of hip and shoulder injuries. Norman started playing again in 1999 but wasn't able to win any more major tournaments. During his career, Norman topped the PGA Tour Order of Merit 3 times and was the first person in history to surpass $10 million in earnings in golf. His dominance over his peers was unlike any other player. He topped the Australian Order of Merit list 6 times. Norman also won the Varden Trophy for lowest scoring average on the PGA Tour 3 times. He was inducted into the World Golf Hall of Fame after his achievements in 2001. Norman's story reminds us that even if we suffer failures, we should keep moving forward, learning from every setback and adapting along the way. I hope you like the story of Greg Norman. We have more stories like this planned for our future videos. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on those. In the meantime, what is your favorite memory of Greg Norman? Let me know in the comments below.